Will be aware. Thank you so much. Again, thank you so much for joining the Healthy Environment, Healthy Children's Environmental Health Assessment Tool Training. My name is Jessica Hartfield Turner. I am going to be one of your co-presenters today. I do work with Community Development Institute. I'm supporting the EPA Healthy Environment, Healthy Children's grant. I am the program support lead for health. Mike Burnside is going to be supporting me and co-facilitating this training as well. He is the CDI Head Start, CDI Environmental Specialist, so he's going to be joining us. I also have some other team members that will be joining, and you may hear their voices throughout the training. You may not, but we have Rick Ramos here. He's a part of the team, as well as Monica Duncan and Mr. Vito Carzanero. We would thank you. And so again, anytime you need to interject and join us, you're more than welcome to. So why are we here today? Again, we want to thank you for joining us. We are so excited to partner with you today in this opportunity for learning and capacity building. Our goal is to engage you in open and transparent discussion about healthy and safe environments. So some of the things we're going to do today, we want to increase knowledge about how healthy environments are vital to the growth and development of healthy children. We want to share examples of environmental hazards and children's vulnerability to these environmental hazards, and just help you expand your thinking around what environmental hazards are and how they impact the communities that we serve. We're also going to describe the intent and usage of the environmental self-assessment tool to improve early learning environments. And then we're going to have participants discussion and respond to any of your initial questions after we go through the presentation to talk about the tool and introduce the tool to you. At the end, we will revisit our objectives at the end of the training just to make sure that we cover them all and we can offer any additional support and clarification that you may have. But because you work in early childhood development, you know that we are lifelong learners, and in our lifelong learning opportunities, we know that we must create environments where children continue to grow, and we must help and support and develop ways to support them. So as we're going to journey through this presentation, we ask that you be open, engage using the chat box. There will be some opportunity for you to let us know your thoughts when we come off a speaker. And we will also want to encourage you to use the chat box. And we thank you all for letting us know where you're from. And if you haven't had an opportunity, just drop in the chat box where you're visited from. So welcome, welcome, and welcome again. It's always important to understand and know, why do we start here? Why are we talking about environmental health? But before we can understand why we're talking about environmental health and a tool that we can use to support it, let's talk about what it is. So environmental health focuses on the relationship between people and their environment, and intentionally monitors or mitigates those factors in the environment that affect human health and disease. So I want to take a moment to dissect that, and we will dissect this meaning in the next couple of slides. So I want you to think about environmental health. If you just take a look around where you're sitting, that is an part of your environment. And the way that it's structured right now collaborates with how what your health and well-being is while you're in that environment. And when you think about even in the environment that you're sitting in, what are some things, if you just look around, that you do every day to create a conducive environment for yourself, your family to work in or to live in? And that's what we're going to be talking about, and how that affects you as a human, our little ones and adults, and how it impacts what diseases may develop if we do not take care of our environmental health. So I want you to take a look at this graphic. This is from the World Health Organization. We want to think about, how does environmental health impact our health? How does it relate to the environment? Now, we're going to talk about several of these individual items throughout the presentation, and we're going to really introduce you to them as we go into the tool. But I want to point out two specific ones that we may not always think about when you think about environmental health in the communities that you live in and that you serve children and families in. we want to highlight occupational risk. So I want you to think about, what is an occupational risk? Drop it in the chat box. What do you think an occupational risk is? And as you're thinking about what an occupational risk is, I'm going to describe to you what it is by definition. An occupational risk is something unpleasant that you may suffer or experience as a result of doing your job or hobby. So right now we're all in job mode. Okay. We also have hobbies, but this is more specific to thinking about what's around you and your environment that you work in. The likelihood that an injury or illness will occur as a result of exposure to workplace hazards. So when you think about occupational risk, I see several things in the chat box. And if you have an opportunity, we'll have a few of those come out if we need to. So an occupational risk is anything that's going to impact you in the workplace, that your environment that you work in, that may be an unpleasant experience. Some examples of an occupational risk, if you didn't already think or note it, in ECE is the spread of germs. We know that we come in with germs all the time. So we talk about cleaning and healthy environments. That's an example in ECE. But also an occupational risk, you see the hard hit could be construction workers and the close proximity to loud machinery. It could impact your auditory system, and also the gas and the exhaust, and I'm saying gas, but I think I mean exhaust for some of that heavy equipment into your air. So when you think about occupational risk, we're thinking about things like that. We also think about a fireman, because we talk about community workers and how you relate that. We talk a lot about that in ECE, when especially we talk to the little ones about, what do you want to be? And most of them, they're going to place a fireman or policeman. So when you think about a fireman, occupational risk is that they put out fires. They could possibly get burned, or there could be other physical harm. Another one we want to highlight is community noise. And this was very interesting to me, because I will be honest and let you know that I did not equate this to environmental health, but it is a part of environmental health. Community noise or environmental noise is that's something that's annoying, distracting, or physically harmful. Also called sound pollution. So when you think about community noise, think about fireworks and how they impact our veterans, our animals, and young children. Think about when you've been at a fireworks show. How many young children have you seen do this? I've done it myself, so that's considered community noise. One thing that we really want to hone in on around ECE, early childhood development and early childhood communities, is that when children are coming to school in the morning, some of our families like music, right? I've had a toddler before. He's 16 now. I have been guilty of this. And so, once we learn, we start to do new things. Turning the music down. Loud music can be considered as community noise, and it can impact a children's ability to hear, because their hearing capacity is not that of an adult. So if it's loud to you, it's probably extremely loud to them. And it can impact developing their auditory systems. So anything that's distracting you from your work environment or your home environment, that does not allow you to concentrate on what you're trying to receive or take in or train or teach, can be considered community noise. You see several other items here. We will go through those as we get further in the presentation, and Mr. Mike is going to help us with that. So what I want you to do is say, okay, Jessica, you're going somewhere with this. So we're building on the knowledge of why something is before we can get to why you need to use something to improve environments. So now that you understand what environmental health is, you've had a foundational understanding and knowledge of some of these visuals that you can equate to what is in your environment. Now we're going to go into, why is this so important? Why is environmental health important? We need safe, healthy, and supportive environments for good health. Good health is inclusive to our physical, mental, and emotional health. The environments in which we live, work, and learn is a major determinant of health and well-being. By a show of the hands in the chat box. I said show the hands in the chat box. If you agree, yes or no. If you agree that the importance of why this is we need safe, healthy, and supportive environments for good health. Physical health. What is physical health? How you and I are sitting here right now. Whether or not we have a proponent for disease. Our mental health and emotional health is how we feel on the inside and how our environment contributes to that. All of that matters because you live in communities that you live and work in. And these same communities, when you go out of the work environment, is where your families and children are. So now that we have an understanding of what environmental health is, why it's important, now it's time to talk about the children. Now it's time for us to focus on the children. So let's just play a game of true or false. Now we need all participation. So what we're going to do, I am going to put up a few questions and we would like for you to put in the chat box whether you think they are true or whether you think they are false. And then Mike is going to kind of help us determine what our majority is. So did you know? Did you know? Is this true or false? Children breathe more air, drink more water, and eat more food per pound of body weight than adults. Is that true or false? True or false? Oh, okay. Well, I did not incorporate you writing on the screen, but I think I like that. It's okay. We can take care of that. No problem. So what do we have in the chat box, Mike?
It looks like the majority think that's true.
That is absolutely, I knew this was the 18 once you all joined. That is absolutely right. This is a true statement. And the reason why is because during the first years of life, the young children's lungs and things are developing, and we are developing more quickly. So we're all in the stages of development, and if anything that's growing, it requires more. So that is a really great answer. So you are right. That is true. Okay, true or false? A child's body can break down and get rid of harmful contaminants that enter their body. True or false? A child's body can break down and get rid of harmful contaminants that enter their body. What do we have, Mike?
Looks like everybody so far is answering false.
This is right on time. I believe you all had these questions. Monica, did you send these questions prior to the training? Something is suspicious here.
I did not do that.
You're absolutely correct. Children's bodies may not be able to break down and get rid of harmful contaminants that enter their body. Their little bodies are still growing and they're developing. So that means the liver and the kidney, which is part of that physical health that helps to break down those harmful contaminants, are still in the process of developing, and they're not the size of an adult. And so therefore they don't have the capacity to filter out toxins as an adult body does. Good deal, team. Good job. All right, here's the last one. Health problems from environmental exposures can take years to develop. True or false? All right, what do we have, Mike?
Looks like everybody's going with true on this answer.
That is exactly right. This is true. This is true because they are young people, they're little people, and there's more time for a disease or illness or health problems to develop than adults who are exposed later in life. So a great example of this is the impact and effects of lead. And we'll talk more about that as an example. If you think about all of the researchable data that you've seen around lead and you ingest it over a period of time, those are the long-term impacts that is an example of what we're talking about. It can take years to develop and have lifelong challenges. So in the next couple of slides, we'll talk more about the why behind the importance of environmental health for children and the vulnerabilities to environmental health hazards and the types of environmental health hazards present in childcare settings. So this was a great exercise to really prime you to go into what we're going to do in the next couple of slides. again, the why behind what we do. Children thrive in safe, clean, and healthy environments. We talked about that. It's important that we understand how to reduce environmental risk, create in healthy environments. So we're talking about things like air pollution and unsafe drinking water. So understanding and reducing these environmental risks creates healthy environments. So when you think about air pollution and unsafe drinking water, when you think about your own environment that you work in, we're going to talk about and have you share it in a little bit some of the things you're doing to support reducing these factors in childcare. When you think about air pollution, and we'll do a little bit more talk around this, what are some things that we see in air pollution? You typically think about like smog and smoke and things like that. Air quality, the quality of your air. Is it safe for children to even go outside and play? Can you take them on the playground? And we'll do a little bit more exercise around activity around these things. When you think about unsafe drinking water, we talked about lead and testing for lead in your facilities. Most communities do water reports on the general water in the community. And you can find it in your newspaper and things like that. And then when we think about infants and young children, they are vulnerable to illnesses. Based on the last slide that we just did, their little bodies are still developing. They don't have the capacity within some of their organs to break down toxins like adults, and they are at a higher risk. And they're at higher risk for not only chronic and acute disease, but as we talked about with the lead poisoning, the risk for developmental delays and cognitive delays. So we want to do everything in order to reduce and mitigate some of these, is really talk about strengthening, enhancing the environments that you're already creating. And that's what we're going to learn more about when we talk about the tool. How do you do that? So here we go, testing your knowledge again. We're still at the why behind environmental health. I want you to take a look at picture A and picture B. So these are two childcare facilities that were tested for lead content. Which one has a measurable amount of lead? So in the chat box, put A or B. Picture A, picture B. These are two childcare facilities that water was tested for lead content. So which one has the most measurable amount of lead? Mike, what do we have?
We're a little bit more towards A.
Okay. Someone tell me why you chose A. Really quickly, drop it in the chat box for me. Mike, did we have someone to drop it? If not, I'm going to go ahead and just talk.
Yeah, we did have we had unusual color, visible sediments,
Good deal.
red dust from
Okay.
due to rust oxidation.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. So you describe why I believe you chose the letter for A because of the visual inspection. So if you thought about B, maybe not, because we relied on a visual inspection, but the answer is both A and B. There is lead. Both of these examples tested positive for lead, and the takeaway for this exercise is to not only go by visual inspection. So of course, A, because of all the things you put in the chat box, is exactly why we would immediately go to that as an issue of lead poisoning, the potential for lead contaminants in that water to the point where it could cause impact to the child's health. But there's also times where the lead is detectable, but it's not to the extreme where it causes discolorization, as you're seeing. So measurable amounts of lead was detected in the water, and the key takeaway is measurable. That is why it's so important that when you're thinking about your holistic environment, that we don't just do visual inspection, we're also talking about the things that we need to test for that it's unseen to the naked eye. So we'll talk more about this as we introduce the tool to you, but part of that is how environmental health plays in your everyday environment. So what we want to do is just strengthen your knowledge base and capacity for the good work that you're already doing in your childcare facilities. So I also want you to take a look at this picture. I want you to take a minute to look at the side-by-side photos. Which one do you think represents a concern for environmental health? The before or after picture? Put it in the chat box. Before or after? And then once you make your selection, tell me why you chose one or the other. So side by side. Before, after. Which one would possibly be a problem for air pollution, air quality? All right, Mike, what do we have?
Right now, we just got after. We don't have
That's
any-
right.
Yeah.
I think we're going to go with the after. Awesome. So in this sense, a visual inspection is correct. These are pictures of before and after pictures of the Golden Gate Bridge on a clear day of March 2021. And the right is when the wildfire smoke enveloped the bridge on September 10th. When all of the wildfires came, that was March 21st. I said September, March 21st of the same year, 2020, for before and then after when the wildfires. Could you take a child out if you had a child care center in the community? Would it be safe, yes or no, to take a child outside, to take yourself outside? And Mike, you can just let us know what they say there.
Yeah, it looks like right now we've got no.
You're exactly correct. So your environment, and so you can't control that, but what you do control, providers, is how you create space to thrive in healthy environments. So on this day, you will have to create space inside for outdoor activity to bring them inside, because your environment that's outside will not be productive for you, or productive or conducive to you or the children that you serve, even if you had families coming in and out. And so we want to talk a little bit about how does this relate to hazards in the childcare setting that I'm sure many of you see each and every day. So we're going to look at a few of these pictures, and you can just put in the chat box your thoughts. And I'm going to talk through some of these pictures and what we're going to talk about and how this connects to what you see every day. So what we see is cleaning. So you can please put it in the chat box and we'll get some of your comments and we'll see them in the end so we can communicate with one another. When you think about a bucket of cleaning supplies, clean environments, a schedule of cleanliness and sanitation. We know several of our providers have cleaning and sanitation schedules. So that is so important that you keep a schedule and routine of that, and you keep these chemicals in a safe place that's inaccessible to children. Smoke. One thing that we know, the foundational things about smoke, right? We know that we don't smoke in our facilities. We know you can't smoke within certain feet in each state. I don't know if there's a standard, but you just check your license and it'll tell you. But one thing that we really wanted to talk about and got feedback on was third-hand smoke. Third-hand smoke is a real thing that happens, and there are some environmental and physical health determinants that come after that. So what is third-hand smoke? Smoke that's on your clothing. If you're a smoker and you drive to work and you smoke in your car, the smoke is that those smokes and smells and those toxins are still in your clothing. So if you're holding children or holding babies, even if you have a coworker that's allergic to smoke and things like that, or asthma or children, it can trigger. So we also want to be mindful of third-hand smoke, because that is also an environmental health hazard that sometimes we encounter in childcare and not directly to smoking on facilities. So just continue to drop in your information in the chat box. Oh, we see the peel and paint. And one thing, as an adult, you would think, oh, we don't really have those kind of things going on to this extreme. But we know things flake on the playground, and sometimes children think those are potato chips. So it's just a good idea to always do your health and safety checks, because peeling paint and things like that can create environmental risk. Mold. Mold is a sneaky culprit. Sneaky, Rick, you know, mold can be anywhere. It can creep up. And mold, it's heavily tied to respiratory issues. And when you have childcare centers that have recurrent staff and children with respiratory concerns, RSV, their sinuses. Sometimes it's dialed back to unseen mold. So we're just going to talk a little bit about how you can assess for these things if you haven't already, and some resources. And again, locking up your supplies and making sure that those supplies are in a safe place that's inaccessible to children and can't get in them easily. Even when you think about environmental health and safety hazard, when you're thinking about supporting small children, infant and toddlers, making sure that we have EPA approved bottles and sippy cups, and making sure that those that are free of the BPA in them, and that we are not putting those type of items in microwaves, because we know that when you put items that's plastic in microwave, if it's not microwave safe, then it can release toxins when you heat it up. Another great example is I never could understand, and really till I got into environmental health and safety, why I couldn't put my Starbucks coffee cup in the microwave. This coffee costs $10 and I want to drink it, but I want it warm. But if you notice, it says do not microwave. It's because of some of the materials when you heat up that cup of what's going to be released when heat comes in contact with it. So those are just some good things to remember. Pests. We want to, environmental part of it is controlling pests, making sure you have a schedule, as you all have, of pest control. And then once pest control comes, making sure that you're safe to go back in the classroom. Do you have to wipe up residue and things like that if pest control is coming on the playgrounds? So it's just some things for you to continue to think about that you're encountering in the work that you're doing every day. And then, of course, creating environments for safe drinking water. Creating safe drinking water. So again, we know that we want to create a culture of safety. We want to continue to strengthen and enhance and learn more about what you're doing. And with that being said, just drop in the chat box, what are some things you're currently doing to reduce children's vulnerability to environmental hazards? What are a few things that you're doing to support your environments? And we can have, if you're more comfortable, I can have a share, one person who would be willing to come off mute and share what you're doing, and then Mike will have you read just a few. And if you're not comfortable coming off mute, that's quite all right. We can look and see what you have in the chat box. So Mike, what kind of responses do we see for what the audience is currently doing to reduce children's vulnerability to
right now? Danielle's using air purifier, and Vito's opening windows, which are both great things to do.
Thank you, Ms. Danielle. So air purifiers is always great, and open windows, creating a natural flow of air to go and facilitate throughout your facilities. Anyone else? What else are you doing?
Using, and I'll get this word wrong because I always get it wrong. Thyme oil disinfectant instead of bleach.
Oh, great. Okay, awesome, Ms. Diane. That's great. So thyme oil disinfectant instead of bleach, because we do know that some people have severe bleach allergies and they just cannot smell those type of things. Awesome. And then speaking of bleach, that's going to segue us into our next question. We know that scented items, now in ECD, in early childhood development and facilities and environments, we know that our teachers and our staff, support staff, they love for their centers to smell nice. But we also know that a lot of those things can be triggers for asthma and other type of allergies. So I will just ask you to share a couple of people, how are you managing your scented items? Can your staff come with perfumes and lotions? Do you use cleaning products such as air fresheners? And if you do, how do you manage those to eliminate environmental risk hazards for children and staff? And even the families coming in.
Jessica, one thing they were addressing from the last bullet, changing the filters on HVAC regularly. and the portable air purifiers, which will help
Mhm.
alleviate some of that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, changing air filters. That is something to even think about with your families. I'm so glad you said that. Because to me, air filters are one of those little things that if that's not your area of expertise, like facilities, it can go unnoticed until something starts to like, oh goodness, you start seeing little fuzzies. So that's good, something to make your families aware of too, to change those filters. So thank you so much for your share. So as we continue to partner with you during this training to introduce the Healthy Environments, Helping Children Environmental Self-Assessment Facilities tool, we thank you for this opportunity to help build awareness that supports the ongoing efforts that you're doing as providers to create and sustain clean, safe, and nurturing spaces for children and families. So we want to acknowledge that in you providers that you're doing this work and you're doing it every day. And we thank you for giving us the opportunity as we segue, and I turn it over to Mike, of how to just help enhance what you're already doing. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike, and he's going to take us into the tool.
Well, we've worked at coming up with this tool, a good self-assessment tool to help you walk through your facilities. And this is something that you may not have knowledge about different topics we talked about: mold, lead, radon, fumes, those sort of things. But this is a good way for you to go through, evaluate a facility, and see what things you might need to look at better, things you have done, or things that need help. How's it work? As we talked about in the previous slide, the assessment tool is sectioned by components. Below each component is a set of questions associated with the environmental component you're assessing in your facility. So we've set that up to where you can go walk through there. Our first section is outdoor air quality. You can go through and look at each item. If you have a yes, no, you know right away that everything's been, it's either you've evaluated before, or if you have a no, okay, that's something that leads you on to do something else. Or if the NA, that's something that's not applicable to your situation. But if you answer no, that's something you need to look at more. There are 3 possible responses, and we talked about those. What does it cover? The assessment tool covers key environmental health risk components that help to assure clean and secure nurturing environments where children can thrive, strive, and learn. This is the important formative years, and we can help prevent those things that might impact their learning and safety ability. As a whole, in the ECD world, we have made exceptional movement forward with improving learning environment. In 2019, the World Health Organization, WHO, estimated that 1/4 of deaths of children under 5 could be prevented through healthier environments to reduce key environmental health risk. So even though we think we're doing things right, which we are, I mean, we're doing it without outside knowledge, we're doing the best to our abilities. But hopefully this will open up some more abilities that you can look at your facility better. Creating safe and nurturing learning environments for children is a top priority for all of us on the call. Therefore, the tool is helpful in building capacity, improving early learning environments, the identification of potential areas of improvement, and providing guidance to supported resources. The self-assessment tool is sectioned by the most important environmental risk children face today in their learning and home environments. So outdoor and air quality, that's something that affects children, whether they're at your facility or they're at home. We'll talk about more about each component, give you an overview of each section and the question asked on the tool. So we go through all the list of possible things that we think in the ECD world. These are things that you need to be addressing or have addressed in your facility to provide a safe and secure environment for those children. This is their most formative years, and we have the ability to hopefully do everything we can to provide in that safe environment. Okay, we'll show you how the assessment tool flows. After we go through each section, we'll share our screen and review the tool. There are 3 possible responses, like we said: yes, no, or not applicable. If you have a yes, let me move my chat box here. So if you have a yes, you went through there, looked at it, everything's good. You evaluated it, don't have any problems. But if you have a no, that's something you need to look at resources, kind of look at what can we do to make this better. If you have not applicable, that's something that doesn't apply to your facility. That's just something that, isn't a concern in your facility. Environmental health component is the header, and the questions associated are directly below. The response is to the left of each question. As you're walking through the facility, you will answer the questions with one of the responses. In the questions, you may see an acronym with an asterisk. See the circle, to see the ones that we circled in yellow there, the air quality index. A lot of people may not have any idea what that is. So we put that down below that you can see what that acronym is and say, okay, yeah, I've heard of that. I know exactly what that is. Or if it's something, hey, I need to know more about this acronym. So we'll have those and things that you don't, you may not know in the ECD world. We'll have those asterisks so that you will know what that is and you can know where to go to find more information.
And as we get ready to transition the slide, we're going to take you to the actual website and show you how to actually download the tool. And then I'll turn it back over to Mike to kind of walk you through as I kind of show you some hands-on how you can click and use it in the PDF form. So once the website, let me go back to the PowerPoint. So the website, we will provide this website for you. Once you put it to your web browser, it will take you to this actual screen. So I'll turn it back over to Mike to kind of give you an overview of what this website introduction of the website will tell you and how to kind of navigate where the tool is, and we'll download it and we'll just continue to facilitate through the training.
Okay. So do you want to go ahead and go to the website there, Jessica?
Yes. Can you all see my screen where it says healthy environments? So let me stop my screen share and reshare. Okay. So can you?
There we go.
Okay, good deal. Thank you. All right. Okay. Go ahead, Mike.
So this will take you to the website where you can find out more information about that information when they got more training scheduled. And then we have the, on our left here, you'll see the take our environmental self-assessment. That's where you can go through, download the assessment tool, provide the information for the download that tool. And there it comes up. And you can download that and it will print out it'll have everything. You can print this off, take with you. And it has all the different topics like we talked about. So you can, and we have this in a format we think walking through the facility is easy for you to do, follow one item after another. So there we have outdoor air quality, where our children are going to be playing, where they're coming in the line, parents drop them off, same thing in the afternoon. And then we move to indoor air quality. Like we said, that's what we've envisioned is the most important things. Indoor air quality, outdoor air quality is going to can affect the majority of children right from the beginning. So we want to address any items we have there.
And oh, sorry, go ahead, Mike. I apologize.
I was just going to talk about right there. We say do the staff check the AQI prior to taking children outside? The air quality index, like we talked about, if we have wildfires, some sort of pollution basis going on outside, the wind is shifting, we need to look at the air quality index and see, hey, is it even safe to take our children outside? Can they play out in the recess? That might be a day they need to be staying on the inside of the facility to play.
Thank you, Mike. And in addition to what Mike is describing, so if you hypothetically, as he described, you have the same instructions he talked us through are always at the header. And if you decide to download this tool and take it on the tablet, this is another way where you can just click directly into it. And if it's linked to a Wi-Fi source, hypothetically, if you said, well, no, I'm not even sure if I understand what air quality index is, and you put no, you have an opportunity to click on the I for additional information about these topics. So each of our headings have the small I for information. You click on it, And then it will take you to resources for question 1, 2, 3, all dealing with outdoor air quality. So I wanted to highlight that. Then Mike, I'll take it back to the tool.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jessica. We have the resources built in. Like I said, if you don't know about that, you can click on that eye for each topic and find out, okay, I need to know more. And that will hopefully direct you to more resources you can use. So we get indoor air quality, and we have the same sort of information. We have, questions that should address all sorts of situations that we should encounter. And same thing through there. We've got questions 5 through 13. And, hopefully we have, like the VOCs there in 13B. The VOC is a example, formaldehyde. So that's something that kind of will be a, hopefully bring it to your forefront. Oh yeah, I've heard about formaldehyde. If you don't know right away. So you'll have the yes, no, not applicable for all those questions. If you have a no, that means it's something you need to address. Whether we need to, have somebody evaluate this, we need to do something ourselves. Hey, we need to, look at this. What do we need to do differently? Do we need to have this tested? Do we need to have some, some outside resources come in to help us with this? Because again, we're just trying to provide the safest, nurturing environment for these children.
And Mike, I just want to give one more walkthrough, an example of how, if you check no to access the resources by clicking on the small I, and it'll take you directly to the actual question and resources. So for indoor air quality, and as you can see, as Mike is describing, we have resources from the Center for Disease Control. All of the resources are from credible vetted resources that are approved. So these are based in scientific resource, and they're all from credible environmental health and safety websites that you can know that you can trust the information. Is what I'm trying to get out and what I want to say. And so if you have, and the goal of the resources to help you explore more opportunity to improve whatever question you may have a no for. Or if it's an NA, not applicable, you may not be 100% sure if this is something you should or should not be doing or implementing in your centers or your facilities, then you have the resources to be able to help kind of guide you to determine if it's something you really need to think about and plan for, or is it something that's truly non-applicable.
And Jessica, Diane asked about number 42 in terms of cleaners. Okay. Is there a list of cleaners there? So Diane, we're consistently updating the resources for number 42. There are 2 suggestions. One that comes from Caring for Our Children, and then another one is from Iowa. So it lists some of the things that you can use, but it's not a comprehensive list there of all kinds of ones to suggest. But if you find one, let us know. We're continuing to grow our resources so we can have an expanded amount of information for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. And another good thing too is to always think about your connection to your vendors, where you are receiving your cleaning supplies from, and making sure they are EPA approved and safe to use in your facilities. So as we're continuing to build our resource list, as Monica says, and this also helps us, so thank you for that feedback, to really think about, are there any centralized locations? But in the meantime, reach out to the vendors that you do purchase your supplies from. Make sure they're EPA approved and safe to use in childcare facilities. That's a really great question and statement. Any other questions or thoughts around the tool and how the resource is used? Before we transition back, we want to give you opportunity for additional questions. So if you're still thinking, it's quite all right, because we're going to have some share and talk. We're going to have some opportunities to come off mute. So we're going to transition back to the slides. So thank you, Mike. Mike, did you have any additional statements you would like to make before I get ready to close us out?
No, not really. Since I am from the environmental field, I will give this, this talk that, like we talked about the water, that the water coming out of the faucet, that is the one that you think normally, but I've tested lead in water before, and the clearest water you can imagine is would have a high lead level content in it. So it's one of those things that we learn, from experience, that we are visual, or what we think, perceive, sometimes incorrect. In environmental field, the just because it looks safe, it may not be safe.
Mhm. I like that, Mike. That's a really great reminder for all of us, because it looks safe doesn't mean it is safe. And I think that's just a really great takeaway as we get ready to talk about the ask and the next steps, and where we're going to ask you, because we shared a lot of information with you today. And I really like how you said that last statement. And when we think about how we want to ask, and the big ask is to think about how we would like for you to move forward with using this tool. The overall outcome is to reduce negative child outcomes related to environmental hazards. That is the overall outcome of why we came today and wanted to talk to you. So now that we have reviewed the tool with you, and it's time for us to ask you if you can support us in supporting you with continuing to enhance the work that you're doing every day. So we're going to ask that you commit to utilize the tool. So what we're asking you to do is, within the next 30 days, we were asked that you commit to use and conduct a self-assessment using the self-assessment tool. That's what we want to ask you to do. In addition to the commitment to utilize the tool within the next 30 days, we want to hear your honest and transparent feedback regarding a couple of things. So take a few notes. The usefulness of this tool, did it really help you? Did it help increase your knowledge base? Did it help you take more of a keen eye, as Mike described, to really think about some of the things that you're already doing in your environment? Do we need to make any changes or modification? And then last but not least, what else is needed? Or what would you like to see more of in terms of resources? And as I think, oh, I'm sorry, that was going on with my, okay, sorry about that. And as Mike described and Monica described, any other resources that we can use, or you have a thought around, please let us know. And we just would like that feedback from you. In addition to that, we want you to provide the feedback to us, and we'll talk about an opportunity of how you would do that when we go talk about the website. And after you complete the assessment tool, there is a post-assessment survey, and I'll take you back to the website and let you review that, so you can make sure you know how to access it. And then also, in the last few minutes, we want to give you an opportunity to ask any questions you may have, any other opportunities for clarification, if you would like us to go over anything else that we discussed today, and just have opportunities to also talk a little bit more about some of the great things. And you can come off of mute that you're doing, and how you can see, just from what you learned today, how you can better support the environments that you are creating for children, families, and even the staff that you support. So what questions do you have? What feedback do you have for us, or any more clarity? But I will also, in this last few minutes before we get ready to close out, we want to hear from you. What are some things that you have done that you haven't already shared in the chat box, that you're doing to support healthy and safe environments for the children and families you work and support? And you're more than welcome to put it in the chat box as well.
Well, as several of you know, with the National Interim Management contract, we have all centers tested specifically for lead water, and a lot of times we will conduct our own test, even if our landlords provide previously tested testing results. And then based on age and also just knowledge of our team, we'll also go into facilities, and if we have any reason to suspect any kind of air quality issues, be it visual or smell, or just even sheer humidity and within a facility, we will also have air quality testing completed. And sometimes even we'll do phase 1 testing for historical data as well, just as a just as a precautionary measurement if we feel that there's a need there. So.
Thank you, Vito. Thank you. All right, I think I saw something, somebody dropped something in the chat box. In NIM and our National Inner Management, our facilities that we mainly support are Head Start-based facilities, some childcare and some family childcare. So I'm interested to know, because this also applies to family childcare providers and daycare home providers. And so I know we have different sources of providers that's on the call, and we also want to make sure that we're inclusive of all types of ECD providers, early childhood development providers. Do we have any comments in the chat box? And we're going to take about the last 5 minutes to talk about the link that Randall dropped in the chat box, and we want to thank our technical support, Tiffany and Randall. We appreciate you today. So any other comments you may have?
Diane had talked about she'd had new smoke detectors wired in the house, so she'll know immediately if there's any sort of problem, or into the ECD facility, said house.
Well, also in the house, Mike, because you went right where, because thank you so much, Diane. Smoke detectors is something that we always commonly have, and even more so now here recently, maybe when I say recent, I'm talking about in the last maybe 10 to 15 years, the carbon monoxide, because of carbon monoxide is known as the what? Somebody put it in the chat box. Carbon monoxide poisoning is known as the silent. That's right, you know, because it's odorless and you can't detect it. So when we're continuing to think about environmental health and safety, carbon monoxide, what do you call them? Detectors, thank you. Or if you need to think about, is that something that you think would benefit if you don't already have them? And also in the house, because remember, environmental health expands past our facility walls. They should expand it to your homes that the children work in, the staff work in, the children are little workers too, but the children live in and their families. Now, Danielle, tell in North Carolina 4F. I'm not sure. Tell me what exactly you mean. I may have missed something earlier. Any other thoughts? And we have about 1 more minute. And Monica, I'm going to transition to talk about the survey that was put in the chat box, and we'll get ready to close us out. Oh, okay, got you. Okay. So Vito, you're talking about radon testing in some areas based off of historical data. All right. All right. One last comment. Anyone would like to share? Danielle, you're off mute. You want to share?
I was saying that in North Carolina, we have to do wired smoke detectors, combination carbon dioxide detectors.
Okay. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you for sharing this information. And again, everyone, we just really want to thank you for your time today. Thank you for taking the opportunity of time out your day to support efforts to continue to strengthen the work that you're doing to support children and families in creating healthy environments and reducing the risk of health hazards to children and creating environments where they can strive, thrive, and learn. And so with that being said, in the chat box, there was a survey link that was put in. Randall dropped the survey link in. If you click on it, it will take you to the survey for the training that we just conducted. So we ask that you take time to complete the survey and give Mike and I your honest feedback. That's how it helps us to grow and develop as trainers, to make sure that we're giving you information that's useful, information that's going to help you enhance what you're already doing, or just build, if it's not an enhancement, just create additional opportunities to learn and grow. Also, it also helps us to strengthen our training abilities when we come to you and as we continue to do these trainings throughout the rest of the month. So we thank you. And Monica, anyone else from the team, do you have anything you would like to say or add before we close?
Just thanking everyone again for joining us and looking forward to you using the tool and giving us feedback about your usage of the tool and the things you're learning to do for the environments that you work and live in.
Thank you, Monica. So we ask that when you have a moment today, please complete the survey for us because statistical data tells us, I'm a researcher, if you don't complete a survey within the next 24 hours, the likelihood of it gets lost in translation. So we ask that when you please complete this survey for us, and we thank you for all of your time, for your energy today, and for your commitment to the children and the families that you are doing, and the commitment that you have for the children and families in your community. So if nothing else, we're going to give you about 3 minutes back. Monica?
Absolutely. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You all take care. Thank you.
Thank you.